when I say canon, I don't mean the kind that goes boom. No, canon actually was an ancient term used by the Greeks. In a literal sense, it was a rod, or it was a ruler, it was a measurement. So there is a canon of scripture, that is, there is a rule of how books get into the Bible. Just because it's old doesn't mean it goes into the Bible. The canon describes books that are considered sacred, coming from God, and there's a standard of recognizing sacred texts. It wasn't just some simple vote of the church in the 4th century like so many of these conspiracy theorists will tell you about, or Dan Brown in his book, The Da Vinci Code, or things like that. That's just pure fiction, okay? There was a particular criteria for books being part of the New Testament and the Old Testament. Now, the Old Testament canon, there are 3 steps to canonization. 1, inspiration. 2, recognition by men of God. And 3, collection and preservation by people of God. The history of the canon indicates a gradual development of a collection of prophetic books which were added continually to law as they were written, okay? Prophets were confirmed as prophecies came true, and also by doing miracles. So they performed miracles, what they said came true. This was evidence that they were prophets, and so people would listen to what they had written down. Josephus, the 1st century Jewish historian, sums up this very well. And what Jewish people thought about what we refer to as the Old Testament. Other rabbinical writings also confirm this was the widely accepted view. Let's look at what he says. From Artaxerxes, and he's a Persian king, from Artaxerxes until our time, everything has been recorded, but has not been deemed worthy of like credit with what preceded, because the exact succession of prophets ceased. But what faith we have placed in our own writings is evident by our conduct. For though so long a time has now passed, no one has dared to add anything to them, or take anything away from them, or to alter anything in them. That is, only the books written from Moses to Malachi in succession of the Hebrew prophets were considered to be canonical. This is Flavius Josephus. He wrote Antiquities of the Jews. He's a 1st century Jewish historian, Roman historian. And so this is kind of the law of the day. So even back then, there were a lot of books that were written after the book of Malachi, but they were not considered scriptures, okay? So we already have the 39 books written in Hebrew that are considered scriptures.